The alien training base on planet Vorthak was always loud, filled with the sounds of weapons clashing, soldiers shouting, and engines roaring. But today all the noise seemed to stop for one reason: the human. Jack stood alone on the dusty training ground, surrounded by tall, muscular alien warriors. Their skin was scaled, their eyes glowing in shades of red and gold. They were part of the Drakari Empire's elite force. And Jack? He was the only human ever accepted into the program. Many didn't like it. One alien in particular, Vecra, a proud female warrior, hated the idea of a human being treated as her equal. "You move slow," Vecra mocked, stepping closer to Jack during drills. "Maybe humans are only good for hiding behind machines." Jack didn't answer. He kept his eyes on the target dummy, throwing controlled punches. He was calm. Too calm. Vecra didn't stop. "Or maybe you're just scared. Is that it, Earth Boy? Afraid to fight a real warrior?" The others snickered. Some watched quietly. Jack still didn't speak. This made Vecra even more aggressive. She circled him like a predator. "Say something, weakling," she hissed. "Show me your fangs, if you even have any." Jack finally turned his head and looked at her. His voice was low, but sharp. "You really want to see what a human can do?" Vecra smirked, stepping right into his space. "I dare you." In that moment, the tension in the air turned thick. Even the other aliens stopped training. Their glowing eyes watched with curiosity and a bit of fear. A human challenging a Drakari? This was madness. Suddenly, Vecra shoved Jack in the chest, hard. That was it. Jack moved. In one fast motion, he grabbed her arm, twisted it, and threw her to the ground. The other warriors gasped, but he didn't stop there. He knelt beside her and, to everyone's shock, he bit her right on the shoulder. Not a gentle bite, not just a show. A real bite. His teeth sank in for just a second before he let go and stood up. Vecra lay there stunned, her eyes wide. She wasn't hurt badly, but she was frozen. Not from pain, but from shock. From disbelief. Jack looked down at her. "You wanted a beast," he said. "Now you've met one." No one spoke. For a full minute, the training yard was dead silent. The wind blew dust between them, and the only sound was the soft hum of power suits. Then Vecra did something no one expected. She laughed. It wasn't a mocking laugh. It was amused, maybe impressed. She stood slowly, brushing herself off. "Interesting," she said, her voice calmer now. "Maybe you are more than I thought." Jack didn't reply. He walked back to the training dummy and resumed punching. The other aliens kept staring, at Jack, then at Vecra, then at each other. Something had changed. Later that day, in the mess hall, the story had already spread. "The human bit her," they whispered, "and she didn't kill him." Some were angry. Some were confused. But a few looked at Jack with new respect and maybe even fear. Jack sat alone at a table, eating silently. He didn't care about the whispers. He wasn't trying to prove anything. He had simply responded the only way he knew how. Vecra walked into the room. Every head turned. She ignored them. She walked straight to Jack's table. Without asking, she sat across from him. "You've made enemies today," she said quietly. Jack nodded. "I figured. But you've also made something else." He looked up. "What?" She smiled, just slightly. "A challenge." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You're not done with me?" "Not even close," she said. "You bit me, human. In Drakari culture, that means something." He narrowed his eyes. "Like what?" Vecra stood up. "You'll find out soon enough." And with that, she walked away, leaving Jack and the whole mess hall confused and curious. But one thing was certain. The human wasn't weak, and the game had only just begun. The next morning, the alien base was buzzing, but not with alarms or orders, with whispers. It spread faster than any official report. From the soldiers in the hangar to the guards at the gates, everyone was talking about the bite. The human did what? He bit Vecra during training. And she let him live. Some didn't believe it. Others were already watching Jack like he was something dangerous, something unpredictable. Jack didn't care. He walked into the training yard like it was just another day. Calm, focused, wearing the same black Earth-made combat uniform with dust still clinging to the boots. But this time everyone stared. He felt the heat of their eyes. But he didn't look up. Not even when Vecra entered the yard again. She was wearing her red armor today, the color of dominance in Drakari culture. Her shoulder still had a small band wrapped around it, glowing faintly from the healing tech, but her expression, completely unreadable. The instructor, a tall alien with tusks and metal plates on his arms, looked nervous. He cleared his throat. "Pair up. We continue combat drills." Jack already knew what was coming. Vecra stepped forward and said in a voice loud enough for everyone to hear, "I choose the human." The crowd whispered again. A few chuckled. A few looked worried. Jack nodded and stepped into the circle with her. The instructor hesitated, but he said nothing. And then the fight began. At first, it was normal. Kicks, dodges, strikes. Both moved fast. But the way Vecra fought this time was different. She wasn't trying to humiliate him anymore. She was testing him. Her blows were sharp, but measured. Her eyes were locked onto his. Not with rage, but with something else. Curiosity. Jack blocked. A sweeping kick ducked and countered with a jab to her ribs. She grunted. And then, without thinking, she smiled. "Good," she said under her breath. "You're learning." Jack didn't smile back. "I don't need your approval." Vecra stepped in closer, voice still low as they exchanged strikes. "No, but you want my respect, and now you might have it." The crowd around them was confused. To them it looked like a serious fight, but to Vecra and Jack, it was a conversation, a challenge, a dance. Then suddenly, Vecra moved behind. Him in a flash locked his arm and whispered in his ear, "Yesterday's bite. Do you even know what it meant?" Jack struggled, twisted, and broke free, slamming his elbow into her chest and stepping back. "I don't care what it meant in your culture," he said firmly. "You kept pushing me, so I bit back." Vecra rubbed her ribs and nodded slowly. "Exactly." The fight ended with no winner. The instructor called it off, eyes wide and stunned. Not because of the moves, but because of what he saw between them. After the drill, Jack walked toward the showers, wiping sweat from his brow. He heard footsteps behind him. It was Vecra, again. But this time, she wasn't mocking. She stood beside him quietly for a moment. Then she said something that caught him off guard. "You've marked me." Jack turned sharply. "What?" "In my culture," she continued, her voice softer now, "biting during combat. It's a symbol. It means you've claimed dominance. Over the body, over the spirit." Jack looked at her carefully. "Are you saying I own you now?" Vecra chuckled. "No, foolish human. No one owns a Drakari. But you've changed something. In me." She looked away for a second. "I haven't felt this way since I was a child, before war turned everything cold. You sparked something, and now I can't ignore it." Jack didn't know what to say. He had bitten her to shut her up. But now she was talking about feelings, symbols, spirit. This was getting way more complicated than he expected. Before he could answer, Vecra added one more thing. "The others are watching you. Some want to fight you. Some want to follow you. But all of them fear you now." Jack stared at her. "And you?" Vecra looked him in the eyes. "I don't fear you, human. I respect you. But next time..." She leaned in, her lips near his ear. "Bite harder." She walked away, her tail flicking slightly behind her. Jack stood there, frozen, trying to figure out what just happened. The whispers would grow louder now. But deep down, Jack realized something else. This wasn't just about a fight anymore. It was the beginning of something far stranger and maybe far deeper. Night on planet Vorthak was not peaceful. The stars above were strange. Purple moons floated in the sky, and the jungle outside the alien base made sounds no Earthborn creature ever could. But inside the metal walls of the base, Jack sat alone, in his quarters unable to sleep. His mind kept replaying the moment Vecra whispered in his ear. Bite harder. What the hell did that even mean? He had bitten her to shut her up, to send a message. But now, it felt like she was the one playing him. Just then, a soft knock echoed from his door. He stood up, cautious. No one knocked here. Aliens didn't believe in asking politely. Jack opened the door. Vecra stood there, wearing something different. Not armor, not training gear, just a simple, tight, dark robe with a belt at the waist. Her red markings glowed faintly in the low light, and her expression was unreadable. "You're not asleep," she said. Jack raised an eyebrow. "You're stalking me now?" "I needed to talk," she replied, stepping inside without permission. "About the bite." Jack folded his arms. "You've mentioned it a few times. Planning to explain what it really means now?" Vecra sat on the edge of his bed. "In Drakari culture, biting during combat is part of the dominance ritual, usually only performed between warriors of equal standing. Or," she paused, "or between mates." Jack blinked. "Mates?" Vecra nodded slowly. "It's rare. But when a warrior shows strength, physical and emotional, a connection is formed. We don't choose mates by soft words. We choose through action, through blood, through pain." Jack took a step back. "So, are you saying I accidentally proposed to you?" Vecra laughed. It wasn't cruel this time. It was soft. Real. No, human. "But you've awakened something I haven't felt in years. You challenged me. And you didn't break, you bit me. That means you claimed something, even if you didn't know it." Jack sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Look, I didn't come here to claim anyone. I came here to survive." Vecra stood, walking closer, her tone more serious now. "I know, but in doing so you've made enemies and something else. You've caught the attention of the elder matrons, the ones who decide if our species allows bonding with outsiders." Jack blinked. "Wait, they think we're bonding? They don't care what we think. They saw the footage, the bite, the way I looked at you after." He frowned. "So what does that mean for me?" "It means," she said, "they will test us." Jack took a deep breath. "Of course they will." Vecra walked to the window, staring out into the night. Her voice softened. "I never planned to care about a human. I mocked you. I wanted to break you. But now, I see something in you, fire, instinct, and something my people forgot. Heart." Jack didn't answer. Part of him was angry, confused, trapped, but another part was curious. Why did her voice suddenly sound less like a warrior and more like a woman who had spent too long alone? "Vecra," he said, "you're confusing the hell out of me." She turned back to face him. "Good. That means you're not ignoring it." They stood in silence for a few seconds. Then, suddenly, the lights flickered red. An alarm blared through the speakers. "Unauthorized breach outside Sector 9, Creature Class Alpha. All warriors report immediately." Jack and Vecra both snapped to attention. She was already heading for the door. "Looks like the test begins. Early?" she said, smirking. But just before she left, she looked back at Jack. "Let's see if you still bite when death is on the line." Then she was gone. Jack stood there for a second. His heart was pounding, not from fear but from something else. Excitement, challenge, and curiosity. What exactly had he awakened? Sirens echoed across the alien military base as red warning lights flashed against steel walls. Warriors ran through the halls with weapons in hand, shouting in the Drakari tongue. It wasn't just a training drill this time. There was a real threat. And in the middle of the chaos, Jack ran side by side with Vecra. Only 2 days ago, she had mocked him like a toy, but now they moved like equals, like partners, or something, or. They reached the breach gate at Sector 9. A massive armored beast had broken in. a wild Zarnak, over 3 meters tall with twin jaws and armored plates down its back. Even the Drakari warriors kept their distance. The Zarnak didn't just attack. It hunted dominance, and it was winning. Vecra stepped forward, her weapon drawn. No sudden moves. The Zarnak only attacks when it senses fear or weakness. Jack raised an eyebrow. So we just walk up and say hello? She smirked. No, you walk up, alone. He stared at her. Are you insane? The elders are watching. Jack blinked. What? She tilted her head toward a glowing orb high on the wall. Tiny, hovering, silent. A watcher drone, used by the Drakari High Council to observe warriors in real missions. They're judging you now, Vecra said. Deciding if you're worthy. Worthy of what? He asked. Her eyes glowed faintly. Of me. Of our culture. Of being something more than just a visitor. Jack's pulse pounded in his ears. The beast snarled again in the distance, cracking, the ground beneath its claws. You're saying I have to impress some ancient alien council while not being eaten alive? Vecra nodded. Exactly. This is the Drakari way. Jack took a breath, steadying himself. His boots crunched on the dusty ground as he slowly stepped toward the creature. The other aliens whispered among themselves. The human's going to die. He's insane. He's trying to bond with Vecra, isn't he? Jack didn't listen. He locked eyes with the beast. It stared back, 6 eyes glowing like burning coals. It roared once, loud enough to shake dust from the walls. But Jack didn't flinch. He took another step, then another. He crouched slightly, showing no weapon, no threat, but also no fear. I'm not your prey, Jack said, calm and firm. And I'm not running. The Zarnak took 1 step forward, then 2, growling. Jack tensed. The moment stretched, then the Zarnak stopped. It sniffed the air and sat down. The entire base fell silent. Even Vecra looked stunned. The beast had submitted. Not to her, not to any of the trained Drakari warriors, but to the human. The watcher drone blinked once. Blue, light pulsing, then flew off. Mission complete. The elders had seen it all. Later that night, Jack stood in the high hall, a massive chamber of crystal and metal, lit with soft white energy. He stood before the Drakari Council, 6 elder aliens, their faces hidden under robes. Vecra stood beside him, armor polished, posture proud. The central elder spoke. Its voice was deep and echoed strangely. You showed strength, human. But not just through power, through control, through will. Jack said nothing. He didn't know what to say. Another elder added, and the beast, her beast, submitted, to you. The third elder leaned forward. You did what many Drakari could not. A pause. Then the elder looked at Vecra. You have chosen, strangely. She nodded once. I choose strength that comes with reason. Fire with control, a bond built in battle. Jack glanced sideways. She was talking about him. The central elder spoke again. The human may continue. A decision had been made. As they left the chamber, Vecra walked beside Jack in silence for a while. Then she said softly, You just passed a test most Drakari males fail. Jack smirked. I didn't study. She laughed. Good. Our kind doesn't want memorized answers. We want instinct. You have that. Jack looked at her carefully. What happens now? Beck returned toward him, serious now. Now. We see if dominance becomes unity, or something deeper. As they stepped into the night, 2 moons hung overhead, and somewhere out in the dark, the Zarnak howled again, but this time it howled not as a beast, but as part of a pack. The night sky above planet Vorthak shimmered with 2 pale moons and a wide river of stars. The alien jungle hummed in the distance, full of glowing plants and strange sounds. But inside the small camp at the edge of the base, everything was quiet, too quiet. Jack sat on a rock, sharpening his blade even though it didn't need sharpening. He wasn't preparing for a fight. He was trying to think. Vecra had taken him out on this mission, alone. No other warriors, just the two of them, sent to scout a strange energy signal in the jungle. But so far there was no signal, only silence. And her. Vecra crouched by the campfire, staring into the flames. Her eyes reflected the orange light. For once she looked calm, almost soft. Not like the proud warrior who mocked him days ago. Not like the one he bit. "Why are we really here?" Jack finally asked. Vecra looked up. "You're sharp, human." "I've been called worse." She smirked, then stood and walked closer. "This mission isn't about finding anything, it's about understanding something." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Understanding what?" She sat beside him, unusually close. "Us." Jack blinked. "Us?" "Yes, you and me. You changed something, Jack, when you bit me, when the beast submitted to you, when you stood before the elders without fear. I felt something shift." Jack stayed silent. Vecra continued, her voice lower now. "Drakari don't fall in love the way humans do. We bond through conflict, through fire, through dominance. But you have a different fire. Not loud, not angry, but deep. Cold at the surface, hot underneath." Jack looked into her eyes. "So this is bonding?" She shrugged. Maybe it's the beginning. But I know one thing. I want to understand you." Jack chuckled softly. "Most people don't. They just assume I'm a quiet grunt." "You're not," Vecra said. "You're something I haven't seen in years. Strength with restraint. Fire with purpose." She leaned in slightly. "I don't know if we'll end as enemies, partners, or something else. But I had to bring you out here, away from the base, away from the others, to see who you really are." Jack met her gaze. "And what do you see?" She didn't answer. Instead, she moved closer, until their foreheads touched, gently. It wasn't a kiss, not in the human sense. But in Drakari culture, it was a deep gesture, a private one, a symbol of open minds. He didn't pull away. The jungle wind blew softly around them. The campfire crackled. Then in the dark just beyond the light, something growled. Jack and Vecra both stood in a flash, back to back, weapons drawn. The Zarnak beast stepped out of the shadows. But something was wrong. Its eyes were wild, not like before, not calm, not respectful. Vecra cursed. "It's not my beast." Another one, a wild one, and it wasn't alone. 3 more shapes moved behind it, massive, armored, growling. Jack gripped his blade tighter. "Friends of yours?" "No," Vecra said. "These are ferals, unbonded, dangerous." The beasts circled, slowly testing them. But Jack noticed something. One of them, the largest, locked eyes with him. And just like before, it didn't attack. It stared. Then it lowered its head. Vecra saw it too. "No way," she whispered. Jack stepped forward. "What if they're not here to fight?" But just then one of the smaller ones lunged. Jack dodged and slashed, not to kill, just to warn. The others stopped. The big one growled at the attacker and snapped at its neck, forcing it down. Vecra's eyes widened. "It's happening again." "What is?" "They're accepting you." Jack blinked. "That's not possible." "Yes, it is," she said, stepping closer to him. "You're not just dominant. You're something more. A bridge between our instincts and your mind. The beasts feel it. I feel it." Jack lowered his blade, breathing heavy. Vecra placed a hand on his chest. "You bit me," claimed dominance, "but now, Jack." She looked around at the beasts sitting calmly. "You're not just claiming a warrior. You're claiming a pack." He stared at her. "I didn't ask for any of this, but it chose you anyway," she whispered. "And so did I." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then Vecra leaned in again, forehead to forehead. But this time, Jack leaned forward too, not as a warrior, not as a rival, but as something more. At dawn, the campfire was nothing but soft embers. But Jack was already awake. He stood at the edge of the jungle, staring into the mist. 4 massive Zarnak beasts sat around him in a loose circle, calm, watching him. Breathing slowly. They weren't tied up, not caged, yet they didn't move without him. It didn't make sense. He wasn't one of them. He wasn't even one of her people. And yet, they obeyed him. Vecra walked up behind him, her steps silent. She held a warm drink made from alien bark and minerals, bitter but energizing. She handed it to him wordlessly. "They've accepted you," she said. Jack didn't turn. "I didn't ask them to." "They don't care what you asked," Vecra said softly. "They care about what they feel." He finally looked at her. "So what do you feel?" Vecra paused, then stepped beside him. "I feel something I haven't felt since childhood, when my father's Zarnak followed him not because it was trained, but because it chose to." Jack frowned. "You think I have some kind of connection with them?" "Yes," she whispered, "but it's more than that." Vecra crouched and reached out a hand. One of the beasts, a dark-furred female with scars across her muzzle, nudged her hand gently. "They follow instinct," Vecra continued, "and their instinct tells them you are alpha." Jack shook his head slowly. "I'm just a soldier." "No," she said firmly. "You are something new. You bit a Drakari, dominated a warrior, stared down beasts without flinching, and now they look at you like you're part of their blood." Jack let out a slow breath. "So what now? I become some kind of alien wolf king?" Vecra smirked. "Not yet. First, you must face the trial." Jack narrowed his eyes. "Trial? The elders know of your bond, but they don't trust it yet. They want proof. They want you to enter the trial of the Moonfang." "That sounds friendly." "It's not," Vecra said. "It's ancient, dangerous. Only those with true beast blood pass it. And if I don't," Vecra looked away, "then I lose my honor. You lose your right to be with me, and the beasts will turn on you." Jack went quiet. He looked at the 4 Zarnaks, calm now, peaceful, but deep inside they were still killers, and so was he. That night, they reached the Moonfang grounds, a giant stone circle deep in the jungle, lit by bioluminescent vines and the twin moons. Bones of ancient beasts were scattered around, and on one high platform stood the elders, silent, watching. Vecra stood with them. She couldn't help him now. This was Jack's trial alone. He stepped into the circle. From the shadows, a single Zarnak stepped forward. This one was different, larger, older, with glowing blue eyes and claws like curved swords. It wasn't just wild, it was ancient. Jack heard the whisper of the elder's decision in his ear, through the small device on his collar. "You must not tame it, you must match it. If you dominate by force, you fail. If you surrender, you die." The beast roared. Jack didn't move. He didn't pull a weapon. He didn't shout. He stepped forward, slow, steady, and lowered his head just slightly. A show of trust and challenge. The ancient beast stepped closer, growling. Its breath was hot. Its eyes glowed. Jack kept walking until they were face to face. Then, in one fast move, he reached up and pressed his forehead against the beast's. Everyone, watching, froze. Even Vecra gasped. It was the same gesture the Drakari used between bonded warriors. The beast growled deep, then slowly lowered its massive head. It accepted him, not as master, not as prey, but as one of its kind, as alpha. The elders stood. A voice rang through the circle. "The trial is complete." Vecra rushed down from the platform. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. She ran into his arms, and for the first time, she kissed him. No games, no tests, just truth and fire. Later that night, as they lay beneath the glowing moons, Vecra whispered, "You're not Drakari, not beast, not just human." Jack looked up at the stars. "Then what am I?" She smiled softly. "You are ours." The twin moons of Vorthak had reached their highest point. Their cold silver light fell on the arena carved deep into a mountain cliff, known as the Circle of Blood and Flame. It was ancient, sacred, and feared. Tonight, it would decide everything. Jack stood in the center of the stone circle, calm but alert. His shirt was torn. Scars from battle lined his arms, but his eyes, they burned with steady fire. Around the circle, thousands of Drakari warriors watched in silence. Not one spoke, not one laughed. They all waited to see if the human would rise or fall. Vecra stood across from him, dressed in ceremonial red armor. Her face was fierce, but her eyes held something soft. Only for him. This was not a battle of hatred. It was a final rite, a ritual fight to decide bonding between a Drakari warrior and an outsider. And it had only one rule: bite. Or be bitten, not for pain, but for final choice. The High Elder stood and raised a glowing staff. His voice echoed like thunder. "Human Jack, warrior Vecra, you stand in the place where blood chooses truth. If your bond is real, if your instincts speak louder than fear, then let fire meet fire." Jack nodded once. Vecra lowered her stance. The circle dimmed. Silence. Then, they lunged. It was fast, fierce, a blur of motion, muscle, instinct. Claws met fists, feet slid across cracked stone. They didn't fight like enemies. They moved like two storms crashing, testing, measuring, circling. Jack ducked under a swipe, grabbed her waist and flipped her, but she twisted midair and landed on her feet, like a beast. Vecra laughed. "You've grown strong." Jack smirked. "You made me." She charged again. He didn't dodge. He caught her, and this time, he pulled her close, right in front of thousands of silent, watching warriors. Jack opened his mouth and bit her again, this time on her neck, not hard enough to harm, but deep enough to mark. She gasped, not from pain, but from something deeper, recognition, connection, and without hesitation, she bit him back. The circle flashed with red light. The ground trembled. From the high seats the elders stood. Drums thundered, a chant began. Bond complete. The arena erupted in noise. Roars, cheers, howls. But in the middle of it all, they just stood there, foreheads resting together. Two warriors died, two instincts, one bond. Later that night, far from the circle, they sat under the stars. The pack of Zarnax lay quietly around them, tails curled, heads low. Vecra leaned against him, armor gone, wearing only light tribal cloth. "You understand what this means now, don't you?" she asked. Jack nodded. "I'm one of you." She smiled. "No, you are more. You're what we forgot. A soul that doesn't dominate to control, but to protect. A beast with a human heart." Jack looked at her, the moonlight dancing in her glowing red eyes. "I didn't come here to fight," he said softly. "But I'd fight the whole universe to keep you." Vecra didn't answer. She leaned in and kissed him again. This time, it was not part of any ritual, it was just love. A strange love, a dangerous love, but real. And under the alien sky, among the beasts, the warrior girl who once mocked the human now belonged to him. Not because he bit her, but because he understood. Her and she had finally found her equal.